Hey, welcome to another Friday workshop. Mark just wants to exit after 2 bars after the execution. So after the trade signal, Mark wants to exit the trade after 2 bars, regardless of whether it's a profit or a loss, I guess, or get profit in X number of ticks after entering the trade. All right, Mark. Let's see. All right. So Mark, let me so I can explain one of your questions here pretty easily. So if you want to get a profit after X number of ticks, that's fairly standard. So like if you set up an ATM, use one of Ninja's ATM, right? You have to set a profit target in X number of ticks. And you can do that in Raven as well. So let's see. All right, let me take a moment to get things set up here. All right, so I'm just going to make a couple of simple signals just using the crossover of these two moving averages here on my chart, right? The red and the white line. So let's get BloodHound open. And put in today's date. All right, so we got the file name in there for BloodHound, and I'm going to start working on the logic board here. Let's stretch this open a little bit. All right, so let's create a new logic. So, all right. So let's see, what am I going to call this? All right, so we're just going to exit after 2 bars of entry, and I'll get to that question in a moment. So I'm going to address the easier one there for you, Mark, and just exiting after X number of ticks of profit. And so, but first, let me set up some simple trade signals here. So let's see. So I have an SMA and an EMA on the chart. All right, so I have an SMA 14 on the chart, and so I'm going to change this to an EMA 20, which is the red line on the chart. So just to generate some simple crossover signals, something I can work with to help demonstrate exiting after, after a signal. All right. All right. So there's our simple crossover system. So we can see the the racing stripes on the chart there. So we got some signals. So let me close that out. And so now I'm going to go into the strategy and pull up Raven. So built into Raven, you can see there's a profit target there, right? So so you can just simply put in your profit target, whatever you want it to be, 5 ticks or whatever you want it to be. So that's how you would just simply do a profit target within Raven. Just to give a little background here, Mark, in case you're new, right? If you use the default setting here, right? You see this says manage trades. You're using default. So having this profit target and stop loss here, right? This is the default. If you wanted to, you can do some forward testing using NinjaTrader's ATM, right? So if you have an ATM already built, you can just type in the name of my ATM in there. Just type in the name of your ATM, and then you can forward test that on the chart. So just so you guys know, NinjaTrader cannot backtest their ATM, right? So actually, yeah, let me kind of point out something here. I'll put that back in there. So I put this back to default, right? So we can see our profit target and stop loss. So if you're going to backtest, we have to turn the Start Auto Enabled on, and the backtest mode becomes available, right? So you see backtest mode here. So backtest mode is only available when this is set to default. So if you set this to ATM, you notice how backtest mode goes away, and that's because NinjaTrader cannot backtest an ATM. So, right, so we kind of made this a little smart here, so that if you do have ATM selected, we hid the backtest mode is hidden, so that way you don't get confused or misled. So a lot of people don't understand that NinjaTrader's ATM cannot be backtested. So, but if we put this back to default, we can see that the backtest mode shows back up. So, all right, so that's one part of your question there, Mark. Just set this to default. You can put your profit target in there and a stop loss. Right? If you leave that stop loss at 0, that means no stop loss. Raven will only throw out a profit target without a stop loss. So, all right. So that's part 1 of your question. And all right. So part 2 of your question is we need to build an exit strategy after 2 bars. After 2 bars goes by. So we got some signals on the chart here. So let's see. Yeah, okay. I'm going to make a copy of this. So to give a better explanation, let's see. I'll take the first one and so. All right. So we have an entry signal here, right? It's just a simple crossover. So now our exit. So I'm going to turn this into the 2-bar exit after the entry signal. So the first thing that you need to have in your logic is you need to have your entry signals. You need to have your entry system, right? So just so we just have this is just a single solver, entry system. But this one solver here, so in your case, you guys probably would have a much fancier set of logic, right? So if we looked at the entry signal for your system that you're thinking of building, right, it's going to be a lot more complex. You're probably going to have a bunch more solvers in here, right? But whatever the case is, where your signal comes out of for your entry system, you need to have that whole entry system in your exit logic, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the entry signals and just extend them out and turn them into an exit signal. All right, so your exit logic is going to contain your entire entry system, your entire entry logic, so that way we can get those signals, so we can get the entry signals, and then we're going to modify those entry signals into an exit signal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Lookback, and this Lookback can take the signals and shift them forward. Right? So let me take a moment here, and I'm going to just mark the entry signals here. So we can use this later as a reference, right? So these are the entry signals. Okay, got that marked. Now, I take this look back, and I'm going to use the displacement option. So we're going to displace it 2 bars forward. Now watch what happens. Alright, so you see, here, let me expand this out a little bit. There we go. Right, so we had the entry on this bar, and then 2 bars later, right, we've got the signal. Now this is just the entry signal that I shifted forward 2 bars. Right, so we're not quite done yet, but we got one part done. One part is just shifting your entry signals forward however many bars you want, right, Mark? So if you wanted to exit after 3 bars, you could just set this to 3, right, and it takes our entry signal and it shifts it forward 3 bars, so you can adjust this quite easily. We'll just put it back to 2, right? And now the next thing is, since this was a long entry signal, the exit needs to be the opposite. So the exit needs to be a short signal, right? So a short is going to exit a long trade, right? And so for this short trade, right, this short signal, we need a long signal to exit that short trade. So the next thing we need to do is reverse the signals, or swap the signals. So we're going to use this long short modifier here. So connect that up. Oh, there we go. Get that connected up. There we go. And this long short modifier, the default mode is set to swap, right? So that's going to take this long signal here, and it's going to swap it into a short signal, right? And it's going to take this short signal here and swap it into a long signal, right? So all the signals are going to reverse on each other. So let's connect that up, and there you go. So now you see how all the signals are reversed, right? So we would have a long entry signal here, and then we would get a short exit signal. And so this exit signal would close out that long trade. So that's it. It's just that simple there. So, and right, so there's our entry signals, and that would be your exit signals. So, and just for fun, let's go ahead and just stick this into Raven so we can actually see it working, and get an actual visual on this. So, and all right, so I'm going to leave BloodHound on our exit signals, right? And I'll go into our strategies, and I'll set up Raven, and Raven will show us the entry signals. So we're going to load up today's BloodHound file into Raven. So there's today's file, and we're going to go to the Logic tab there, and we'll select our entry signal so that everything looks good. Alright, so click OK, and we're going to set up our entry logic. So there's the name of our entry logic, and for our exit, we'll select the name for the exit logic, like that, and we'll just set a 10 tick profit target. So the way Raven is set up here is is that the trade is either going to exit, the trade's going to close out based on our exit logic, or the trade could close out on the 10 tick profit, right? Whichever one happens first is what will close out the trade. And let's see, we need backtest mode, so we need to turn this start auto enabled on, set this to true, and now we have backtest mode available, right? So backtest mode is set to true as well. And so now last thing is just turn this on. So this start auto enabled on, I'll show you what this setting does in just a moment. So when the chart trader comes up, it'll be more obvious as to what this setting does here. Alright, so you see the blue button on here that says auto enabled. So that setting that I set to true, it starts Raven with this enabled. So if you leave it at false, then what it does is Raven will start up disabled, in a disabled mode. So that way Raven doesn't start trading on you right away. So most people don't want Raven to start trading as soon as they put it on the chart, right? Especially if you have a scalping system. So so by default, when you put Raven on the chart, the auto feature is disabled, so which prevents Raven from executing trades. So normally you have to turn it on, right? But if this is disabled, then that means you can't get backtest results because Raven's disabled. So that's why this start auto enabled on, it needs to be set to true so that Raven is enabled when it's starting up. And then if with Raven being enabled, then Raven can do the backtesting. So alright, so anyways, we got Raven on here, so I just wanted to kind of take a look at a couple of these trades. So so here's our long entry signal. So we got long there, but unfortunately price went against us, and the trade closed out after 2 bars, right? So the profit target wasn't hit, but the exit logic was executed, and it closed the trade after 2 bars. So and hopefully you guys can see the text there. Actually, let me shrink this up. There we go. So you can see the text says close long, right? So that close was the exit logic closing the trade out. So now if we take a look at this one, right, we had a short short entry signal, and let's see, yeah, it looks like price didn't quite come down 10 ticks, unfortunately, but after 2 bars it did close out, so the profit target wasn't hit, but the exit logic was executed, and it closed the trade, and luckily it closed it for a small profit. And here we go. So here we had a long entry, a long signal, and it did hit a 10 tick profit and closed out the trade. And you can see the text here says a long profit target, right? So the profit target was hit on this trade. You can tell by the text. So Don's got another question here about having 2 different indicators on the same panel, and he's looking for a crossover. So that depends, Don. So let's let me set up an example here. So alright, so I've got a stochastic and a MACD here, right? So the stochastic, as you guys probably know, goes from 0 to 100. The MACD, well, the MACD, its scaling all depends on the instrument that you have the MACD on. So this is oil. So the scaling for the MACD on oil is pretty low, right? 0.01 to like 0.01, you know, somewhere in that ballpark, right? So a crossover is a mathematical term, right? So so in order for the stochastic, you know, which goes from 0 to 100, in order for the stochastic to cross the MACD first of all has to be above 0, right? Because the stochastic doesn't go negative. So the stochastic could never cross the MACD if the MACD is ever negative. And then so the MACD would have to be positive or above 0, and then the stochastic would have to dip all the way down to 0 right, or 0.005 in order to reach down to the MACD in order for that crossover to be detected. So when you take two indicators like this and overlay them like that, that is a visual, just a visual, what's the right word, representation that NinjaTrader has created, but these are not crossing over each other mathematically. So NinjaTrader doesn't have a way to detect this crossover, and rightfully so, because this crossover only exists when the chart is like this right now. So let me give you an example. So I'm going to place all right, let me change my snap mode. All right, so there's a crossover. Right, that's pretty obvious and easy to see. And well, yeah, you know what? I think there was actually a crossover right there. And yeah, look at that. So just a simple object affects the plots there, affects that crossover. So how can you get a crossover, if your indicators are constantly adjusting? This is kind of illustrates the point I'm trying to make here. So let's just say that's the crossover there. So if we scale, yeah, boom. So now look at the dot there. So right, so that's no longer a crossover. So these are not crossovers. This is just an optical illusion, that you've created for yourself when you overlay two indicators like this. So yeah, so these types of, I guess, visual only crossovers cannot be detected by an indicator. So, yeah, let's see. So let's just mark that there. Right, so it looks like a crossover now, and then if we step forward, now that crossover is gone. Right, it's not there anymore. It's moved. So that's why you can't really detect those as crossovers, because the scaling on two different indicators is constantly changing. So Mark would like to see an exit strategy using the SuperTrend. All right, yeah. So when price touches the SuperTrend indicator, to exit. All right, let's put a SuperTrend on here. And actually, first, let me. I'm gonna turn Raven off here. So, if you're ever shutting down Raven, some tips on shutting down Raven, or kind of any strategy in general. If there's a disable feature, I disable it first, and then if there's a closeout button, click the closeout button, just to make sure all the trades are flattened out from the strategy. That way, because if you just go into strategies and you just remove the strategy, that might leave positions opened, right? So, not that that's going to break anything, if you're just doing a simulated trades, it's not going to break anything, but it's just a good practice to not leave open simulated trades open. Right, and of course you definitely don't want to leave your live trades going. So, all right, I'll remove that. Okay, let's put the SuperTrend on here, and let's see. I've got the anaSuperTrend, and there we go. Alright, so I'll just use the default settings here. So let's see, we got 3, 2.5, and 15. And let's see, median and true range. All right. Just make the lines a little thicker. There we go. That should be easier to see. Alright, let's get BloodHound open. Alright, so I'm going to create a new logic template here. So this is going to be an exit using the SuperTrend, like so. Alright, so let's see, let's take a look at what's actually occurring. So with the anaSuperTrend, we can see that price, if we focus on this right here, we can see that price actually crosses that plot line, right? Price, the closing price of the bar actually crosses the red SuperTrend line. And let's look back here a little bit. And here we go. And so here, price, also crossed the blue SuperTrend line. So I know there's some SuperTrends out there where the line will actually stop plotting it'll stop plotting before price crosses it. So you might need a different technique than what I'm going to show. But with the anaSuperTrend, since we have price crossing that plot line, this is going to be pretty simple. So what I can do is I can just grab a crossover solver, and I can just look for price crossing the SuperTrend line there. So alright, so I'll give this a name first. So we're going to do price crossing over the SuperTrend. Alright, so we're going to set indicator A to price. And there we go. Set that to price. And next we're going to set indicator B down here. We're going to change that to the SuperTrend indicator. Let's open this up. Go find our indicator. There it is. And just want to make sure all the settings match. So you have 3, 2.5, and 15. Alright, and the next thing is we need to select the plot. Right, so the blue and red plot is the stop plot or the stop line. I think these are both the same. So one of these plots is drawing the dots. I'm guessing by the name, right? It says stop dot, so that's probably the dots there that we see on the chart. And the line, right? The line that's connecting the dots is probably this other plot. All right, that's the stop line. So I think these are both one and the same. So we can use either one, but we'll just use the dots and it's already selected. And there we go. And so that's it. Let's shrink this up a little bit. So there you go. That's the exit. So if you were, if you had a position on, let me get my arrow. So if you had a position on that was long, right, then we have a short signal. So this short output would exit a long trade. So that's all there is to it. So there you go, Mark. I'll leave that open like that so you can see how this indicator is set up. Let's see. So Mark, I'm not sure what you're meaning when you say it looks more difficult since it does not cross price. You can explain what you mean. Okay, yeah, so Mark would also like to see an entry signal on this. So basically, Mark, this is also the entry signal, right? Because right there, that, green, so that is a long signal. So that would be, right? Wouldn't that be your entry signal to, right when the SuperTrend switches? That would be your entry signal as well. So, this is not just an exit, it's also an entry, right? Because you're getting a long green signal when the SuperTrend switches to an uptrend, right? And then you're getting a short red signal when the SuperTrend switches to a downtrend. So it's actually one and the same. So with this, with this, you don't actually need an exit logic, right? So if you're just going to use the SuperTrend to switch you from going long to short to long to short, right? So in other words, if you're always in the market, if you're building a system that's always in the market, just flip-flopping from long to short trade to long trade to short trade, this is it. This would also be your entry signal. And then Raven would just reverse you. So, if you set this up in Raven, so Raven would put you in a short trade, like so, and then Raven would reverse that short trade to a long trade, like so, and then Raven would, reverse that long trade into a short trade again. So Raven would just automatically reverse you on these entry signals, right? So let's go into Raven here. Actually, let me close this out so it saves it. So I'm going to close that out and save it. Alright, so if we pull up our strategy and go into Raven, so we'll load our BloodHound file in here. So there's today's file. Alright, and so say we want to use the SuperTrend as an entry system. Alright, so we'll use this as our entry signal. Even though it's labeled exit, doesn't matter what the label is, alright? The name is just a name. So we'll click OK. And so for the entry logic, we could just pick our SuperTrend, and there is no exit because it's just going to be an always in a trade system, right? So we'll just leave the profit target blank, no stop loss, and I guess of course you could put a stop loss in there to, just try and help your system out, and just leave the top profit target blank. And let's turn the backtest mode on here. There we go. Alright, set this on. Okay, so we got backtest mode turned on, just a stop loss, and our entry logic set. And you can see all the buttons are flashing there on the chart trader. So that tells you that the backtesting is being done. And let's get rid of these drawing objects. And so there we go. There's all the trades. Looks a little messy. Let's see. Yeah, so this last trade here, right? Took a short, went short, but then hit the stop loss. So went short, hit the stop loss, went long, hit the stop loss, went long, hit the stop loss. So not a very good system, obviously. And so if you wanted it to always be in the trade instead of a stop loss, okay, let me turn this off here. So I could just set the stop loss to 0, and then basically the entry signals would just constantly reverse the trade, you know, instead of having a stop loss. And there we go. Let's scale this down a little bit. All right, so this went. So we had a long signal, and then we had a short signal, and so Raven just reversed down to a short. Then it went long, and then over here it reversed to a short and went long. So, all right, Raven's just constantly reversing the trade. So. Yeah, Robert's got a good question here. So Robert's asking, are the buttons on the chart trader used to override Raven? Yes, they are, Robert. So if I wanted to, so let's see, yeah. So right now, Raven's in a simulated long trade here, right? So we can see that, yeah, we can see this. Raven's in a simulated long trade, and let's see. Let's see. It's odd. The time on my chart's wrong. No, hold on. I got something wrong with the chart here. Let me see. Oh, no wonder. So this is, the date ended last week. So let me go to today. There we go. Okay, there we go. So we can see now this is something that NinjaTrader does when you're backtesting a strategy. Is you see how on the chart trader it says I have one long position and it's up 27, 28 ticks, right? So what NinjaTrader is doing is, right, we have this historical long signal here, right? So NinjaTrader took this historical long entry, right? But this historical trade hasn't closed out yet because this is a always in trading system. So this long hasn't been closed out yet, and so NinjaTrader's trying to simulate this last long signal here. So this isn't a live trade, right? This is a simulated historical backtest trade, and it's just basically NinjaTrader's just waiting for this trade to close out, you know, using live data feed to close out, and then NinjaTrader will close out this historical trade. But it does it. Yeah, the way, you know, because NinjaTrader's simulating this historical trade, it does look like you're actually in a live trade. You know, I guess because we can see that the chart has live data on it, but this actually is not a live trade. There's actually no position on. This is just NinjaTrader just trying to finish calculating this last historical long trade here on the chart. So, you know, so if you want, you know, we can just actually, yeah, you know what? There you go. So when you put your mouse over the close button, that's right, Jeremy added this little warning here because a lot of people were getting confused by this, thinking that Raven was in a long trade, you know, but it's not. This is NinjaTrader. So we put this little message up here, and you can see it says in simulated trade. So, right. So just to give you guys a notice there that that is a simulated trade. But we can close that out, and let's see. Yeah, we closed it out, but you have to wait for the bar to close. So that's one of the things about running a strategy with calculating bar close true is we're going to have to wait for the bar to close, and then Raven can actually execute and close the trade out there. So yeah, there we go. So now you can see it says close long. All right, so that simulated trade is closed out there now. All right, so the point I was trying to get to is Robert's question. You know, do these buttons override? And yes, they will. So, right, I can manually go long, and the default settings for Raven is that this manual trade that I just placed will prevent Raven from auto trading, right? So since I used the chart trader to execute a trade, Raven is no longer going to auto trade, and that's because of that's Raven's default settings. Now, if you want, you can have Raven. You can change Raven's settings so that Raven will override your manual trade. So the way you do that is if we go into the strategies, and we're going to take a look at Raven's settings here. So you see this setting right here, auto trades override manual trades, right? So auto trades, well, that would be, you know, Raven's auto trading, and then overriding manual, well, these buttons, right, represent the manual trades. So, you know, if you push a button, then you're manually entering a trade. So Raven's auto trades overriding the manual trades is set to false right now. So in other words, Raven will not override my manual trades. If I set this to true, then Raven will be allowed to override, you know, the chart trader buttons. So so like probably a practical example of setting this to true is if we had an exit logic set here. Actually, you know what? Let's close that out. Disable Raven. And we'll actually go in here and make some changes to Raven. All right, let's turn Raven off. There we go. All right, let's go back to our previous example here. So we'll just use the simple crossover, and right, so we had this exit after 2 bars there, right? So we'll go back to the previous example there. And all right, so we have auto trades override manual. So I'll set this to true. All right, so now Raven can override, you know, the chart trader executed trades, right? The chart trader buttons. And so what'll happen is if I place a trade, then let's see. Actually, no, this exit logic wouldn't exit. Shoot. The example I was hoping to give you is that, is that if I use the chart trader buttons to place a manual trade, the exit logic would exit that trade, you know, if the exit logic fired off a trade. So, you know, with auto trades override manual, with this set to true, yeah, so with this set to true, both the entry signals and the exit logic can override your manual trade, right? So Setting this to true allows Raven to take full control of the trading again, with both the entry logic and the exit logic. So let's, yeah, I'll set this up here. And who knows, we might get a short signal here. I guess if oil comes down a little bit, we'll get a short trade. So let me just, I'll put a manual short trade on, and let's see. Well, I'm on a 1 minute chart. This is going to take too long. Let me close that out, and let's change this to something that's going to move a little faster. How about a 4 range chart? And oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go short, and if the market's going to cooperate with us, if price keeps coming down, eventually that exit logic will get triggered, right? So, well, I guess first we have to get the entry signal triggered, and then that 2-bar after exit signal will fire off and close out this this manual trade here that I placed. So we'll just have to see if the market's going to work with my example here. All right, so let me get back to the board and see what other questions we might have here. Hey, there we go. Look at that. So Ninja did actually close out that short trade. So I placed a manual entry, and then Ninja closed it out. Or I mean, Raven overrode that manual entry and closed it out. Hold on, let me change the scaling here so we can actually read some of this, so we can see what happened here. Alright, so we can see right here is my manual trade. Right, so I placed a short manual trade, went short, and BloodHound, right, so I have BloodHound set to show me the exit after 2 bars of entry. So BloodHound's showing me the exit signals, right, so I can see from BloodHound here, right, I got this exit signal. So this long output is going to exit a short trade, right? And so I placed a manual short trade, and then eventually Raven got this exit short trade signal, and then Raven closed out that manual trade for me. All right. So, and just to be extra clear on this, the reason why Raven closed out my manual trade is because I had auto trades override manual. I had this set to true, so I set this to true. All right. The default setting for that is false. So normally this is going to be set to false, but I set it to true, so that way Raven could exit out of my manual trade there. Okay, so there's our screenshots. All right, so the question is, on this example screenshot, Mark would like to enter trades on blue lines, basically the second dot on the trend line, and exit when the trend line hits price. Alright, so it sounds like, well, Mark's entry is a little different. So let's see. So Mark would like the entry signals on the blue lines, which is essentially the second dot on the trend line. Yeah, so let's kind of zoom in here. All right, so we can see the blue line here Mark has entered. So I guess kind of what Mark is getting at is he would like, I guess, the SuperTrend to have at least a 2-bar, kind of confirmation before actually jumping into the trade. Yeah, let's see. I guess that's kind of what it sounds like. But in any case, we don't want to get into the trade immediately when the SuperTrend reverses, but we want to wait 2 bars after that. Yeah, so if it's simply just waiting 2 bars, that's going to be real simple. Let's see. All right, so let's pull up BloodHound, and let's see. I'll change my chart here as well. So let's see. This is the backtest Renko 4-brick 7 reversal. All right. Well, actually, so a T1 R7. All right, so I'm going to change my chart over. All right, so 4, 1, and 7, just using the default settings. All right, and let's see, 5 days ought to be plenty. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get this. I'm going to get this logic template pulled up that we already had started working on. All right, so there's the solver and the logic template for our SuperTrend. Right, so we've got the signals already built, for when the SuperTrend reverses on us. But now Mark wants to have a essentially, I guess that would be a 3-bar delay. Yeah, I think a 3-bar delay. So let's see. I'm going to make a copy of this. So we'll rename this. So this is now going to be an entry logic template. And let's see, how about we'll call it let's see, let me just double check the screenshot. Alright, yeah, so actually the green dots, alright, so we want 3 bars after, okay. So let's go, alright, so 3 bars after the SuperTrend. Alright, we'll just call it ST for short. Okay, so we're just going to take our signals here, and let's see, yeah, I'm going to use a, let's see, well, actually, I guess the SuperTrend would never reverse. Within this 3-bar period. Yeah. Yeah, so if the SuperTrend is never going to reverse in this 3-bar period, then yeah, we can just use a simple look back node here. And simply we just want to displace the signal, let's see, 3 bars I believe. Yeah, there we go. So that did it. So we can see now instead of the signal being there, right? So for example, right, the signal used to be where the green arrow is, and with this look back we can displace it forward however many bars you want to. So now we can see it's on the 3rd dot, right? So 1, 2, 3 on the 3rd dot forward. So there we go, Mark. It's just that simple. So let's see, I'm going to scan through the chart here and see if there's any places where the SuperTrend might reverse within this 3-bar period. Yeah, so far it doesn't look like the SuperTrend is going to reverse that quickly. Yeah, it doesn't look like the SuperTrend reverses that quickly, so I think that'll do it. And alright, looks like Mark's got something else here. Let's see, Mark, I'm not quite sure what you mean. You're saying that we have to work off the end of the trend line rather than the beginning of the trend line. Oh, okay. I think I understand what you mean here. Well, Mark, you know, it all depends on the indicator. So, to me, it just you know, the easiest way, you know, to detect when that anaSuperTrend is going to reverse, you know, the easiest way is just to look at this crossover point. You know, we can do this let's see, a different way. Let's see. Yeah, we can look at this a different way. So let me actually. Yeah, I mean, it all kind of comes down to how the indicator is written. So the anaSuperTrend, this blue line and the red line, it's the same plot. All right, it's all one plot. So to illustrate that point, so right in BloodHound, I'm going to open up the SuperTrend, open up the settings, right? So it's just this one plot. So this blue and red, you know, it's a single plot. If this blue and red was broken up into 2 different plots, right? So this stop dot and stop line, it's still right. It's still the same dot, but some indicators will have one plot for blue, the blue line, and it would have a separate plot for the red line. But the ANA indicators are written correctly, and they're using a single plot line. So working off the beginning, yeah, if these were 2 separate plots, we could do that. But since they're just the same plot, and the plot is just being changed colors, we can't really work at the beginning of the new plot color. So I think what Mark means by working at the beginning of the line is when the line changes color, right, and it flips from down to up. So let's see. I was going to do some other testing. So this indicator might have a feature to detect the beginning of the line, the beginning of the new colored line, of a different colored line. So we'll do some testing. So I'm going to use the threshold solver to do this testing, and I'll show you why I'm going to use the threshold in just a minute. So I'm not going to use the plot lines. I'm going to use something else that this indicator has. So this indicator has something unique here, right? So it has this data series and it has this bool series. So maybe this data series or this bool series might identify when the plot changes colors. So you can identify the beginning of the new color change. So let's see. Let's look at the reversal dot and see what that gives us. So I'm going to select this reversal dot data series. So this data series is essentially it's like a plot, but you can't see it. So a data series is information, right? It's going to be values. It's going to be information that can get passed to BloodHound, but you'll never be able to see a data series on the chart. So only plots can visually be seen on the chart. So a data series is just a way for this anaSuperTrend to pass information to BloodHound or to another indicator. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to play around with the outputs here and see what I get. Yeah, it doesn't look like that reversal dot. Reversal dot. So you might be, maybe one of these settings turns on this reversal dot data series. Because right now, this reversal dot, let's see, yeah, this reversal dot doesn't seem to be changing. Let's see. Oh. Yeah, so BloodHound's just getting a continuous long output here. So my guess is that this reversal dot isn't working. Oh, okay. So this reversal dot looks looks like it's equaling price. Yeah, so this reversal dot's not exact. I have no idea what this was designed to do. So it doesn't look like it's identifying these reversal points, as the name might lead you to think. So let's take a look at this bull series, this uptrend, and see what that gives us. And all right, there we go. So let me go back to this bull series. So a bull is short for Boolean, which a Boolean is true or false, right? So that's what Boolean means, true or false. So a bull series is a true or false set of data, for programming. So this uptrend bull series is either going to be true or false. So on every bar of the chart, this bull series is either going to be true or false. And so in computer language, a true is 1, a false is 0. All right, so we're looking for a threshold of 1. So if that bull series is true, it's going to equal 1, and I'm assuming that means true. So 1 means true. Right, so I have the long output set, so if that bull series is greater than 1, it's going to be true. And if that bull series is false, then it's going to equal 0. So for the short output, I have at 0 set to 1. So what we're looking at is when that bull series is true, we're getting a long output, and when that bull series is false, we're getting a short output. And let's see, yeah, looking at this, yes, you know what, even Mark, even that bull series is still identifying, the last color, of that plot line as being, as I guess, kind of as the beginning. So it's not identifying the first bar there. Yeah, so that's really just the way this indicator is written. So, if you want to start working with, as you say, if you want to start working with the beginning of when the plot changes color, if you want to work at the beginning of that, then what we could do is, I'd say just go back to this crossover like this, right? So the crossover, we can see it's giving us a signal at the end of the plot line, not at the beginning of the next one, but we could just use a look back like that, which will just shift the signal forward onto the beginning of it, like so. Right, so that's one way that you can work with it. So, but other than that, I think that, I guess I kind of went a little beyond Mark's question here in explaining how things work, but, I think essentially this accomplished Mark's goal. And let's see, let me name this here. All right, so that threshold solver is looking at the SuperTrend, uptrend data. So, all right, so this uptrend here, this uptrend is coming from the bull series uptrend. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking at with this threshold solver here. But I don't really see that as being any extra help to you, Mark. You know, I think just using the crossover solver is just the better, easier solver to use.